Okay, so today I will be going over absolute advantage and comparative advantage, and in terms of opportunity costs and how it affects trade. So, just to review, absolute advantage is whichever two companies or countries, whichever has makes the most goods with the fewest inputs or resources. Comparative advantage would just be whichever company or country makes the goods with the lowest opportunity cost. All right, so we'll be using a nice classic example of guns and butter for our graph. So we have 36 guns for 36 butter, which is an opportunity cost of 1 to 1, which we will get into further later. So let's just draw our line here. Excuse my lack of artistic ability. And then we're going to have for country B, this is going to be country A, we'll make it the US. And then for country B, we will have it 2 guns for 18 butter. So we'll draw a line here. It's a terrible line, I know. And it will make that Mexico. So also just it's worth noting that if we are going to have 1 here, which is not, this is not up to scale. If we have 1 gun, it would be half of what Mexico can make for butter. So it'd be 9. So this therein gives an opportunity cost of 9 itself. So to quickly recap, for the US, it's a 1 to 1 opportunity cost, and then for Mexico, it will be an opportunity cost of 9. All right, so I made this chart here to recap the maximums for each country, and just like we saw before, 36 guns for the United States, 2 guns for Mexico, 36 guns or 36 of butter for the United States, and 18 for Mexico. And here we can compare absolute advantage and comparative advantage. So we can see the absolute advantage is the most it can make with less units or less inputs. So the United States takes it on both of these. So they'll get 2 A's. Now comparative advantage is going to be the lowest opportunity cost for each of these countries. Which has the lowest opportunity cost will then have the greater comparative advantage. And this is where we can determine good trades. Okay, so to find the lowest opportunity costs for each of these countries, it's pretty easy. For the United States, we already see right here in our graph up here that it is 1 to 1. So 1 guns for 1 butter to 1 guns. I put a little graph to the side here to make this a little easier to see. So for Mexico, it's a little bit trickier, but it's pretty easy. You can always just take this number right here and put it under this other number, like I do here for guns for Mexico. 18 over 2 is 9, so then you get 1 guns for 9 butter equals 9 butter. And then you could do the same thing with butter. You have 18 over here, and then you take your 2, you put that over your 18, and it's 2 over 18, which is 1 over 9. So 1 butter equals 1 over 9 guns. We can see they have the United States has a comparative advantage with the lowest opportunity cost for guns, but Mexico has actually the greater comparative advantage and lowest opportunity cost for butter. So there can be a trade can be done to benefit both countries. You can set up something like this to find the best trade possible. You can see on the left I have the US with 36 guns, and that's because they had the greatest comparative advantage in guns. Mexico had the greatest comparative advantage in butter, so I set them up with 18 butter because that's their maximum. Same with the United States. We'll begin with a couple bad examples of trade. So, for example, say the United States wants to trade 1 gun, and it'll be 11 butter for Mexico. And this is a really bad trade for Mexico because you'll see they trade away 11 butter, and they end up with 7 butter plus the 1 gun they get. And to them, the gun, if you want to make it in like terms, is worth 9 butter. So by that, they'll only have 16 butter, and they would lose. While the United States, on the other hand, would lose 1 gun and then get 11 butter. Since it's 1 to 1, you'll see that they end up with a huge profit of 46, which is completely different from Mexico because Mexico ends up with quite a sizable loss. Now that you know how to determine the gains and losses of trade, I have circled for you 2 trades that are both profits for each country. The top one profits Mexico more, and the bottom one profits the United States more. What you want to do is try and find a happy middle ground trade which profits both countries almost equally. And with that, I've gone over absolute advantage and comparative advantage and how they apply to trade between two countries or two entities.